You know what? I feel like writing. Oh wait, I forgot. It's winter time and since it's past 4:30, I can't see. But as the phrase goes, let there be light. And if you think we're gonna be, hang on, why am I still doing this outside? Let's go back in the garage. And if you think we're gonna be spending 150 bucks on a headlight kit, oh boy, then you do not know what we do here. Here we scoff at such prices. Plug and play, more like scrimp and scrounge, hunt and hack, D and I and Y. I mean, why not make the exact same thing for a third the price and add a taillight too? I'm sure you know what I'm referring to at this point. Electro Co offers a headlight kit for your consideration and it looks really nice. I'm sure it's really easy to install, no doubt about that, but wow, what an eye-watering price tag. 150 bucks? And where's the taillight? $150 seems absolutely ridiculous if you consider that this headlight kit is essentially just three things: a headlight, a handlebar switch, and a regulator. And so a few Google searches and Amazon picks later, I found those exact things, starting with the headlight, or headlights I should say. It came with a pack of two. This is a 6-inch floodlight. It looks really nice. In fact, it looks very suspiciously similar to the one that Electro Co uses, but for 15 bucks, I got two of them, so now I have a bonus headlight, so I could probably slap that onto one of my other bikes as well. Next up is the handlebar switch, which is actually optional. You don't necessarily have to have this. You could wire it up in such a way that the lights are just gonna always be on anytime the bike is on, but I wanted the ability to turn it off and on whenever I wanted, and spending 7 bucks on this little guy allows me to do so. Let's not forget the tail light, of course. I definitely wanted to add one of these because this is a street bike primarily, and I want to make sure that people see me from behind. And not only that, but this is really cool because this can also function as a brake light and turn signals. It has all the wires for that, so at a future point, I could actually wire those things up and make this bike even more streetable, if you know what I mean. Now last, but certainly not least, in fact it's the most important piece to make all of these other pieces actually work, a regulator. A regulator, otherwise known as a DC to DC converter, takes the voltage from the battery pack and steps it down to a safe enough level so that other components like headlights and taillights can actually function properly without just blowing up immediately. Because lights like these don't take that much power. First of all, this is all LED, so they don't really draw that much to begin with, and second, these are usually hooked up to things like gas-powered motorcycles or cars, all of which work on a 12-volt system. This little box pulls the battery voltage, which is much greater, anywhere from 84 to 60 volts in my case, and outputs just 12 volts. Real simple wiring too. It's just 4 wires. There's a red and a black here that goes to the 72 volt battery pack in, and then there's a black and yellow at the bottom as 12 volts out. And wiring something up like this is actually pretty simple, so we can look at it step by step. The first thing would be connecting this DC to DC converter, the red and the black, to the battery. Actually, I'm wrong already. While you could connect it to the battery directly, you wouldn't necessarily want to do that because then the lights would just be on all the time, even if the key isn't on. So rather than actually connecting it to the full battery, I'm going to connect it to the switched power in the key, so that way it's on when I want it to be on. That makes more sense, right? So like I was saying, once this DC to DC converter is actually hooked up to switched battery power, we can then have the output of the yellow and the black here for 12 volts, which will go to the rest of this system. So at this point, you can make this wiring really simple and simply take the headlight, and the tail light in this case, and connect the red and black, positive and negative here, to the red and yellow of this, and just call it done. Now again, you could do this, but doing so would just make sure that this is always on anytime that the bike is on, or if you plugged it directly to the battery, it's just always on regardless. So in my case, I want the ability to be able to shut that on and off. So all we really have to do in this case is just break the positive section right here and then put the switch in between that. And the switch has a red and a black, but in this case it's going from positive to positive, so it doesn't really matter which way you hook this up. I'm gonna have it as red to red and then black to yellow. There you go. A little bit hard to see here, but if you think about it as like a trail with which the power needs to go through, it's going to travel up this yellow wire, go to the black, go through this switch. Whether or not this is on or off, it's going to continue going through that red to the red of the headlight and then back to the ground to the rectifier. But that's just the wiring for the headlight. We got to add the tail light as well, which has 2 similar wires. It's white instead of red and black. So in this case, we just need to wire it up so white goes to red and black goes to black. And to show you that this all works, at least hopefully the way that I wired this, I'm going to substitute the power that would be coming out of this rectifier with a 9-volt battery. I know 9 volts is not 12, but this stuff uses so little power, I think it's going to be fine. So if we flip the switch, we have light. Look at that. So now that we got the wiring diagram all figured out, we know everything is going to work as it's intended. It's just a matter of placement, and this has to span basically the entire bike. We have a tail light back here, and we have a headlight and a handlebar switch up there. So we need to figure out where to put everything, and I think the best place to put everything, kind of like the Electro Co kit, is under the seat here. We have this nice wide open area with some brackets and easy places for placement. Places for placement? Okay, we'll go with it. So I think it'll be easy to place the DC to DC converter right here, and I want to have all the wires going to this central location right here to make all the connections. That way, if I need to pull this out or take it apart or make any changes, I can easily unplug everything here, pull it out, place it back in, plug everything back in. One of the other things I need to consider when wiring this up is placement, specifically headlight placement. Where do I actually mount this thing? Because it does come with a bracket, as you can see right there, but the problem is that it's not exactly a robust bracket. That's one of the things that I will give the Electro Co kit credit for. It does come with a custom bracket, and it's really easy to mount. You just replace this mount with the new mount that it comes with, and it has a nice easy placement of the headlight right up here. But as I was playing around with this thing, I actually found the easiest solution is to simply mount it right here. I can just simply remove the bolt at the top of the number plate with a longer one and put the mount on it, and there you have it, an easy headlight bracket.
Hey look, it's me, a track for a video montage, so that we can pass the time as he deals with this collage of wires. Still gotta move this along and pace it with a song. I'm sure he'll reveal what he did, but first we'll have this montage song made with AI, because I'm not creative, but hey, at least I tried.
And before you know it, that's another montage completed and another wiring harness fitted. Now let me show you everything, because I kind of need to remind myself, even though I just did it. So we have a couple of set of wires coming from the front here, two sets. We have one right here which goes to the headlight, and another set right here which goes to the switch, and I also added a fuse on this switch side, since this is like the first point for the positive wire that it goes through. I just want to make sure there's something there in case things go bad. It pops right here and doesn't break anything. But I guess if we follow the trail, we start with the yellow wire here, which has a single connection to a red. That's the fuse right here, and this goes up to the switch. Flows up here, goes straight back down to the other black portion of the switched wire, and then this goes into the positive to the lights. Then we come to this confusing little section, which confused myself, honestly. I had to draw this out on my phone. I'll put that image up if you can even interpret that, but trust me, it helped. So this is the black for the switch going back down to the bike, and then it has two wires coming out of it, a white one and a red one. These are the two positives for the lights. Because the wires for the taillight were just so tiny, they would not be able to fit into these connections fully themselves, so I actually made a little bit of an adapter. These tie into the headlight, which goes to this, and then this portion, which goes all the way up to the front. That way I can unplug everything easily. But anyway, then the positive feeds back into both taillights, and then we have the negatives coming out from this end, which both feed into this single wire, and this goes right back to the rectifier. Make sense? So it's nearly there. Everything is in place. Just a couple of things that are left to do. I need to tie these all off and clean them up, fix them to the frame so they're not jostling around and everything. But most importantly, I think it's probably necessary to actually connect this rectifier to some power. So like I mentioned earlier, all I have to do is tap into any kind of switched power. And in this case, with a far driver wiring harness that I have in this bike, that's anything that's orange and black for ground. And I was able to find that pretty easily with the display. So here I have the connections for the display section, and two of those three wires are exactly the switched power and ground. I just don't have to worry about the display settings, obviously. So I tapped into those with these two wires here as extensions, and then this end will go all the way to the back and plug into the rectifier. And yes, I know it looks like it's already been involved in a fire, but trust me, that's not the case. This is just really crusty electrical wire that kind of fused itself to this over the years. In fact, this wire is actually spares from one of my first projects on this channel and first introductions really to serious wire wiring. It was called Jurassic Ruck. No one really ever saw it, but maybe go back and check it out, see how this channel progressed, and get those views up, because wow, did that underperform. So with that one last connection plugged in, we got everything else cleaned up and the seat put back on, so now it's a complete bike. So let's see it in action. So nothing on just yet because the switch is turned off, but if I flip it, let there be light. And look at this brake light too. I didn't even show you this. It's kind of funny because it was the frame, honestly, and how weird this rear fender is that made me think about putting taillights and a headlight, for that matter, in the first place. Because what I did was I fixed this to the metal bar of the subframe underneath everything, and for whatever reason it decides to sit a little bit lower down than the fender actually sits in placement with everything else. It just kind of sticks out right here, and I was looking at that and thought, you know what? That'd be really cool to put an LED light bar on it. I mean, if only it wasn't so late out, we could take this thing out and ride it, but oh wait, I don't care about that anymore.
Now I can truly ride wherever I want. I just have to contend with the weather, of course. I know I can't really complain being in Southern California, but wind chill is wind chill, right? But so far the lights are contending pretty well. I made sure to get the floodlight, not a spotlight, so it's got a very wide range. I can see both sides of the street, basically, and I'm sure cars coming the other way can certainly see me. Although we are on a main street, so there are street lights pretty much on every corner here, but let's try and find something a little darker to make sure that this works when there's no light, or at least very little.
There we go. Here's a dark and spooky, abandoned-looking street, and if I turn off the lights, you can just see exactly how dark it is, if you could even see anything. I don't really know how well this camera does in low light, but I guess I'm gonna figure out now that I have the ability to ride at night.
The taillight has some pretty good visibility too, although if you're standing directly behind the bike, it's just illuminating the bottom of the fender, so it kind of uses that as like a filter. But if you step back a little bit, anything 10 feet or more, you easily are able to see it, and I hope that that would be the case, that people are at least 10 feet behind me. Also, at least with the front headlight, the mounting is pretty solid. It hasn't jostled around or bounced around. I think the alignment of the headlight is at a good spot. At least I hope I'm not blinding people. Hopefully this guy coming up on me is not being shine in the face, but at least it's enough that I can see and he can see as well.
Overall, not bad if I do say so myself, for only, hang on, why do I keep doing this outside? Back to the garage again. Not bad if I do say so myself, for only a third the price of the pre-made kit, and on top of that I have an extra headlight that I can use elsewhere, and on top of that I have one of the coolest looking taillights I could ever ask for, and on top of that, that taillight can be expanded into more like a brake light or turn signals. So if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go back to riding this thing. And yes, I'm gonna talk about the big wheel kit that's coming up.
With added light, I'll own the night. From dusk till dawn, all I gotta go is switch it on. That's all provided it's not too cold. I know this is SoCal, but if I may be so bold, we can get cold too. 65 degrees is pretty brisk, don't you think? I've seen it in the 50s too.